Welcome to the Good Morning Education Show, and it's another day. It's another day. We thank God that we're alive. We thank God that everything is fine. Good to be here, and of course, good to see you once again. This is the Good Morning Education Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We'd like to welcome everyone. Everyone, you're welcome to the show. My name is Rotimi Eitaya, and I am your host for the show today. We're streaming from Lagos to Nigeria, West Africa, to the entire African continent, and also to the entire world. And if you're connecting with us right now, please feel free to let us know what your name is. Tell us where you're streaming from or connecting from. And of course, please do not hesitate to share your thoughts as we have the conversation today. Tell someone about the show, connect with someone about the show. And of course, do not hesitate to ask questions. If you do have questions, please do so. We will always entertain questions on the show, and we welcome everyone. And we're always excited to see our regular timers, our first timers, our regular callers. Great to have you all here. All right. And Osai, thank you for joining. Safety, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Mr. Rotimi. I'm very fine. How are you doing?
I'm very well as well. Thank you.
Awesome.
So how has it been? You missed it? You missed the show yesterday. We missed you yesterday.
Yesterday I slept around I think 3:30 a.m. So I just couldn't make it.
Wow. Sleep took the best of safety chick. Thank God you could make it today. We really had a great time yesterday, and we had fantastic comments from our viewers from across the world. We have people from Italy, we have people from UK, we have people from Benin, we have people from Lagos, we had people from across the world yesterday. We even had people from US. You know.
Wow.
So today is another day, and yeah, so amazing. You know. And Titi was spitting, some deep stuff yesterday. Yeah. So today is another day, and I'm sure we're going to have a fantastic time today on the show. We're going to be talking about something that affects not just people in position, but affects everybody across. So we're talking about leadership, the price and the prize. Do you understand? The price of leadership and the price of leadership. Two things. There's a price that must be paid. There's a price to pay, and there's a prize, to win. Do you get it now?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a very short headline news today. So let's go to the news, and we'll be back to review the news. Once we review the news, then we'll talk about the conversation of the day. Titi, welcome to the show. Good morning, Titi. Are you there?
I am. Good morning, Safety Chick.
Hello.
Good morning,
Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hello.
Show. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, I'm practicing the hello from Titi. So we're talking about a very interesting topic today, and I said that let's have the headlines. Though the headlines might be a bit of a short one today, but let's just have the headlines, and then we'll come back to review the news and talk about the topic of the day. All right. right. Welcome back. Welcome back. Let's have feedback. What are those things that caught your attention?
Gombe State.
Okay.
I love it. Yes, I love their plan to integrate SDGs into education. I feel like that's a really good step. There are so many things that needs to be part of what is being taught regularly to children, so that they won't become adults and then you are telling them and it sounds strange. It's better to catch them when they are still young, put it into their subconscious early, so that they grow with that consciousness that as they are making decisions, they should always consider that these are the realities in the world, and they now begin to think of how they can also be a part of the solution. So I really, really love that, and I hope that it's something that is replicated across the entire country in a systemized way, because I know that what happens is we have youth groups and individuals who visit schools, teach about SDGs, teach about safety, teach about all those things, but in a more formal way, let it just be a normal part of what is being taught in school. I think that it's really better to have it.
Fantastic. All right. KK, welcome to the show.
Hi,
Good
thank you.
morning, Mr. Jai.
Hi, it's good to be here this morning. Hopefully the network stays stable.
You have not been paying homage to the network, that's why.
Because internet thing is something else. But it stays stable today.
Okay, so any other review on Ogochi? Ogochi, any other review on the headline?
For me, that was the one that caught my attention the most. Okay, and they also said 3 of children are in public school. Well, that's just one person, but they are just a handful of them. So let me just focus on the Gombe and their SDG plan.
Okay, Titi.
I don't know which state is recruiting more teachers. I think that's good. I think there are quite a number of states recruiting more. Even Lagos State is currently also recruiting more teachers. So that's really good because that's really what we need. Thank you, Mommy. Yes, Kano State is recruiting more teachers. So I think that was the major one for me. The fact that we need more teachers. So that's a good one. Okay.
How about the best governor?
Well, that one I was just like, you know some awards. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot has been done in Ogun State, so it's commendable. But I was just, as I saw the thing, I was trying to list through all the things they have done vis-a-vis to say, okay, they are deserving of. But I think let's always give kudos to people that are doing something. So it's important. We need to keep encouraging them so that more governors would put education as a priority in their state.
Then the sensitization from on like the continuous sensitization to avert COVID outbreak again in the schools.
Yes, I think that's a good one because we've been talking about it over and over again. And I think it's even more important now as we begin to wrap up for the year, because there will be higher traffic in schools because people are probably going to have end of the year parties or meetings with parents. So there has to be that consciousness that as we are going to have an increase in traffic, the precautions are being followed, because it is when there is that increase in traffic and people are letting down their guard, precautions are not being followed. I mean, anything can go wrong. So yes, I think it's a good one, a good reminder that regardless of what's going on, everyone should still keep taking the necessary precautions.
And 9,000 students or Nigerians get student visa. That was in 2019. Statistics says it was 9,000. And of course, I'm sure this year probably might spike as well. What do you guys have to say on that?
There'll be less this year.
There'll be less. Don't be
Yeah,
shocked though.
that's 2019 figure. There will definitely be less. Remember that apart from the challenges with traveling, there's also been increase in FX. There's been COVID, loss of revenue. So also there'll be less.
Okay, I would have my fingers
I
crossed.
think that most of the people that traveled for education, they did not fund themselves. A lot of them went via various forms of scholarships, because that's another thing. There are many countries that are offering lots of scholarships to young people who are doing amazing stuff. And I find that in all these applications, Nigerians have the highest number. Like, Nigerians are hot, trust me. They are so hot that they always feel the bulk of, if not that their quota systems for some of these things, they'll probably take over the whole thing. So I know that because I know this year, as I watched the news, I saw those that got Chevening, the Commonwealth Scholars, Erasmus. Like, there are so many opportunities like that. So I don't think it's going to be a factor of maybe, if it is them paying themselves, it might make things a bit difficult. But riding on scholarships might still help to raise the number.
Fantastic. All right. Then we have the prison decongest story. How improve prison education can decongest correctional centers. Hello? Hello?
Yes, I
Are you
can
there?
hear you, sir.
So do you have any take on this, the prison correctional center stuff?
I don't really know much about that, so I can't speak to it.
Well, it's not just the news. It's a comment and that says that if there's improved prison education, it can help decongest correctional centers. So there's a correlation between having to ensure that a prison is not just a holding place or a warehouse of people who are serving time for certain things they've done, but then it's meant to also complete the essence of having a prison, which is reformation. A lot of times what happens is you just have basic welfare support in prisons, which majorly is feeding. A lot of some NGOs, faith-based institutions have been trying to get in to try to not just stop at the place of feeding prisoners or sharing their faith with prisoners, but then they're now getting to the point of creating skills, improving vocation. And also, if you notice, even this year, I think it was in the news, and especially last year, where we witnessed a lot of there was an increase in open education for those in correctional centers. A lot of people wrote more their school set and that's WAEC exam. More prisoners wrote, I think, last year and this year, and also for JAM as well. So they're just trying to say that, look, it's time that we do not just leave those people for bread and for rice, because what happens is a lot of people just take items for welfare and just dump it in prisons, but the mental welfare is left, the intellectual welfare is left. And so what happens is, I remember the time I had a prison visit so many years ago. I think that was in 2014. I was told of a particular prisoner that served his time, but pretty much there was no home to go to. There was no home to look forward to. Integration into society was a big challenge for him. So prison is just his home. It feels it feels at home. That kind of a thing. And sometimes some people, they tell you that the moment they release these people, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they'll be back. Why? Because sometimes there might be gap in the real integration into society, and of course, because they don't feel equipped, they only resort to what they know how to do best. All right, so I think
Rotimi,
that's
I just
good
have
enough.
a question. As they do
Okay.
education, people, I think it's important that it's vocational. Because I
Yeah.
hear you and I agree. When you go out, there's you've been out of a system, you're a stranger. It's easier to go back into the life of crime. So I think it's commendable, and I would say that it should focus on vocational, because vocational means that someone doesn't necessarily need to employ you, so that way, because everybody will be wary, they know that you're an ex-con to employ you. But if you have this, and it's just depending on what it is, So, but if you have a skill, if you have something, you can quickly be making chairs. You can, that one is people then have to come and buy. So I think that's commendable. I think it's a worthy cause. I think we should continue to focus on education across, irrespective of whether it's school, whether it's in the prison, and more importantly, education that is valuable and applicable and practical. That's that would be my comment.
Fantastic. I don't know if I'm correct, but I want to believe that we have some people who are celebrating their birthdays today. I just want to be sure. But if I'm correct, I think, do you guys know Ayokweju? Pity you should know Ayokweju now. Yes. I think today's her birthday. I think she's 50 today, if I'm correct.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I know some people's birthdays are loading, they are loading.
Wait now. Let me, let me clear the ground. Let me get the ground something. Something is happening somewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, our very own stepper fashionista. Now I understand what's been happening. Do you know what, Titi? Do you know what has been happening? Your cousin did not confess to you. I will expose her. She's been doing. Have you noticed that for the past 44 days, she's been doing some countdown kind of skits. She's been doing some posts and some pictures and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it remains small before you do like this. KK, the teacher, KK, the facilitator, KK, the trainer, KK, the speaker, KK, the administrator, KK, the web person, KK, the stepper, KK, the dresser. Oh, shit. Bell of blessing. Oh, my Eba is now unlimited. 44 days of Eba supply. Non-stop. I'm not eating this Christmas. KK, my welfare is on you.
Okay. Days of Eba.
I was so excited when I saw that video. I said, hey, I don't say count to see. KK has been doing video for almost 44 days now. You'll be inspiring people, encouraging people, dressing down. This, oh God. Oh God. Ugochi, when is our birthday?
Me?
Don't worry.
That's next year. Now mine has passed.
We're looking for celebrators or celebrants, if there's anything like that. All right, so let's go straight to the conversation of the day. We want to thank those who are joining us. Thank you, Rita, all the way from Italy. Thank you for joining. Let's look. Is there any other person? Let's check. All right, Osai, thank you for joining. Thank you. Fantastic. So we're talking about leadership, the price and the prize. We know that leadership is something that is always like the talk of town. Leadership comes in different ways and different realities. So to those who are in positions, we're talking about leadership. To those who are not in a kind of position, we're also still talking about leadership. To those who are doing business, who are trying to gain some level of traction and mileage, it's still leadership of some sort, whether it's market leadership, whether it's school leadership, whether it's business leadership, whether it's life leadership, whether it's positional leadership. There is meant to be these two factors. There's always a price to pay, and there's always a prize to win. So we're going to start from that, and I'll start with KK. So KK, when we say leadership, right, how do we get to introduce the concept of leadership to people? who probably are listening to us and preferably maybe not having positions, because I think one of the most familiar concept or the levels of leadership is where you see people in position of authority or position of power. So tell us leadership from your perspective. Thank you.
From my perspective, right, leadership is one who um, has almost like have a firm grasp of the thought process and is able to move people, along that thought process. So they vocal in the within a particular thought process, right? So it is not about the position. The position does nothing for it. So because you're in a place of consequence, in terms of levels, doesn't necessarily mean that you have anything to do with leadership. So you might be in the leadership position, but you're not a leader, right? So there is the action of leading, which means that you have mastered, or you are somebody who has verifiable experience, or you command a high degree of a high degree of, I'm looking for the word now.
A degree of respect.
Yeah, well, respect is there, but it's just something that I'm not sure about the word. I'm sure it will come back to me before we're done. But if for me, when I think leadership, I'm thinking you can lead the way, you can show me the way in this particular area. So you might not be a leader in several different areas, but in this particular thing or in these things, I would defer to you all the time. So that for me is the concept of leadership. It is very different from the position, because I've seen people in positions of leadership, but they have nothing that is leadership worthy that I can tag their names and actions towards. So yeah, it's action oriented. That's the first thing, and people must respect your views concerning it. So that's, for me, that's the concept of leadership.
Fantastic. Does anyone want to add to that, whether it's TT or Ugochi? She's thank you so much, KK, for that. Okay.
Yeah. So remember what I wanted to say now. Sorry if I can just chip that in. It says that an elevated title does not guarantee competence, right? So for me, that just sums up my concept of leadership. An elevated title, it doesn't guarantee your competence in that regard. And then when we look at competence, leadership is not just about management, right? Leadership is the ability to actually then bring people together towards doing something in particular. So that for me is really critical. There must be action involved with it. So again, so I've had people who are promoted to places of leadership, but they were actually management, and they couldn't lead, they couldn't bring people together. So you must be competent, you must be able to bring people together, and you must be a very good communicator. So all of those three for me kind of wraps up when you talk about leadership.
Fantastic. I love the way you said it. Elevated position does not guarantee competence. And I also share in that, because I normally tell people that I'm able to define something does not necessarily mean I'm able to deliver on that thing. So being able to define what leadership is does not totally mean that I have the capacity to deliver on leadership. Very profound, very profound. So then the question is, who is a leader? Who is a leader? If we look at it from that perspective, then who then is a leader? And I would like Titi to, answer that question. Who is a leader, Titi?
I think KK has already, our school leadership guru has already dropped some nuggets. And one of the things that resonated with me a lot is the fact that a leader is someone who is taking a group of people who's coordinating, I think that's the word, a group of people to achieve a common goal. So it means that a leader is not someone that achieves something by themselves. So, there's some people that are very good, but they can only achieve things on their own. That's not a leader. That's just an excellent performer. But a leader leads people, coordinates the efforts of people to a common goal. So it's important that when you talk about leadership, this first of all must be a goal. The second thing is that you're coordinating a group of different people with different skill sets, with different personalities, with different issues and baggages. You're able to make them into a cohesive whole to achieve that goal. And once you can do that, that really makes you a leader. I remember that even as you're trying to coordinate those people, they tend to have at the beginning, different goals, but your role as leader is to try and bring it into a common goal. Because when you're working in an office, some people don't just want to be a teacher, some people don't, they just want to earn money. But the goal of the school is to give children an education that is high quality. So it's that thing of trying to get everybody to see that it is a common goal. Let's all work together. We all have different skill sets. We all have different roles to play, but ultimately it's to achieve that common goal. So the leader must start with trying to help everybody see their own goal in the common goal, and then using their skill sets to achieve that common goal. If you don't do that, then it's hard to lead the people.
Fantastic. And just while you were speaking, we had Gideon STN join us on the show. Gideon has been missing in action for a while. Gideon, I want you guys to. In fact, KK is looking like she wants to give Gideon a memo. Gideon, where have you been? And Gideon came bearing gifts. So Gideon brought the presence of the prophet on the show. We have Prophet Jude on the show today, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, internet. Good morning, Safety Jake. Good morning, KK. Good morning, Mr. Rotimi, and good morning, TT.
Dude, we should give you memo. We should give you memo.
Your absence, maybe your absence has affected Nana from joining the show live.
Oh my God!
So I need you to speak out that wherever Nana is, that Nana will miss her.
Please come back, Nana.
Nana. I'm sure Safety Tick is just beaming with smiles. There she is right now. All right, we're talking about leadership, the price and the prize. Leadership is an elevated concept. It's also something that people pride themselves in. And listening to TT, listening to KK, I think that we need to also let people know that, look, leadership comes with a price. There's always a price. There's always a price. And I think I'll ask Safety Chick to take us into that aspect. So with leadership, and from the way it's been defined, there is a price. There's a price. What are those things you consider that make up the price that we have to pay, or the price that is demanded of anyone, of any group, of any organization, of any pursuit trying to attain the leadership concept or position?
Okay, so when you are a leader, formally or informally, you're trying to move people in a particular direction to achieve a particular result. So that puts a lot of responsibility on you. I don't want to call it pressure. It puts a lot of responsibility on you, because for you to lead people to somewhere, you must have the know-how. So that means you need to take some personal extra time to learn the things that you need to know to be able to achieve that. You need to have some knowledge of what needs to be done, or who needs to do it, or how it needs to be done. Because again, I must stress that as a leader, you don't have to be a know-it-all, but you must be willing to work with all the excellent people. Put all of them, both the excellent and the non-excellent people. You should be able to work with different kinds of personalities, marshalling them towards your chosen direction. So that gives you a lot of responsibility. So you need to do some personal study. You need to know more. For example, know about the subject matter you're trying to do, or know how to manage different kinds of people. You also need to understand that as a leader, your time is going to be called for at odd times because you are the leader. So when your team members run into a challenge and they have tried to fix it on their own and it's not working, they would look to you for direction. When something comes up suddenly, people would look to you for direction. If something also goes wrong, people will also look to you for direction. So this means that you have to be on top of your game, basically. So you need to take some time to learn what needs to be done. You also need to be, you should know how to manage your own self, because if you are not a self-governed body, it will be really hard when the demands of your leadership position begin to come. You'll find it hard. And that's why sometimes you see some leaders, their team members are all looking everything in place, hair in place, suit okay, and you see the leader looks like they ran into an accident, hair scattered, like the whole, you can just, you be like, what's going on? What's the matter? So they look frazzled, they look, they look frazzled and everything, because the pressure is a lot. They're trying to get on top of it, but it's now spilling out, because they are not able to manage themselves, not talk of, managing the people that they're working with. And those things now make people think you are incompetent and, other derivatives. So the prize is your time, your expertise. People are going to misunderstand you. Yes. People are going to say bad stuff. People misunderstand you. In fact, I still had a conversation with someone last week, and she was telling me that during her tenure at in one of our organizations, that there was a particular individual that always said bad stuff about them, how they were not good enough. And now she handed over to someone. And in this new person's tenure, this individual that was so cantankerous in her time was writing on the WhatsApp group how her tenure was so fantastic. She said she had to clean her eyes and check again. Is it the same person that is, now saying something else in the new administration? So it's going to happen where people are going to misunderstand, misjudge, slander might even come in, but you've got to have focus your focus. You've got to have what I used to call it, inner strength. Yes, because when those things come at you, you should not allow them to shift you. You should not allow them to make you to now drop back from doing what you're supposed to do or perform less, and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, so I'll just stop there, sir.
Thank you so much. You really help to shape that perspective, because people need to realize that it's not necessarily like a walk in the park. Leadership would always come with its price. A lot of times when people get trained on the concept of leadership, and when people get inspired towards taking leadership, or inspired towards leading themselves, leading their teams, leading their organization, leading their dreams, a lot of people look at the picture of the prize. That's the PRIZE. But then when they now start the journey, they begin to see the demands of the PRICE, which is the price. And then everybody's like, wait a minute. I did not bargain for late night calls. I didn't bargain for sleepless. I didn't bargain. Is this thing like this? Oh my goodness. As I can imagine the story you just shared, safety check, right? That's why people say on easy lies, the head that wears the crown. Jude, what are your takes on this?
Yeah.
The price that has to be paid on leadership price.
Okay, the price on leadership is always going to be greater than just what is expected from the follower. Now, the truth is that for leadership, it's good to outdo your followers, sort of, in one way or the other. It's good to outdo your followers in terms of productivity, in terms of direction, in terms of process. It's always good to outdo your followers. Else, your position as the leader might be questioned. Though you can argue that some leaders are good at putting followers together, harnessing the energy of followers and all that. But at some point, it's good to outdo your followers in an area they might not be too confident or competent with, so that to actually prove that point that you are the leader. But you're not trying to lord it over them anyway. But it's a natural thing. It's a natural thing, and it's from an evolutionary perspective that every leader must, one way or another, outdo their followers. So that might be the price that leader has to pay. That might be the price that leader has to pay to uh, uh, to be the leader, or to be the person in position of leadership. But aside that, we might have every other form of leadership, which is politics and all that, delegated duties and all that. But for natural leaders, or for people who are going to lead naturally, or who are going to be uh, uh, paving ways for other people, it's also a natural thing for them to be to outdo their followers in certain respects, and that price can be anything. That it can be in terms of intellect, it can be in terms of long work hours, it can be in terms of connection, it can be in terms of more productivity, it can be in terms of more talent, it can be in terms of something. But there's certain price that has to be obvious for leaders to be recognized. That's my take.
Fantastic. And just what you've said just brings me to there's this thing I normally used to share, but let me try to be a bit naughty on the show today. So I'm going to say when I do leadership training, sometimes I share letters or acronyms that affect leaders, or sometimes a quest to being a leader or your leadership. So I'm going to use the letter D, and I'm going to ask everyone on the show to pick something they feel that starts with letter D. KK is already started. That starts with letter D, that probably will hinder. Wait, now something that will hinder leadership. I'm going to start. And anything I say, you don't have any, you can't repeat what I said. So you must come up something unique. So I'm going to start with. So one of the things that affect leaders, one of the things that affect leaders is doubt. So when you have doubt, you doubt yourself, you doubt your competence, you doubt your authority, you doubt the fact that people believe in you, it will definitely affect you on your journey to leadership, or in your quest of leadership. So I'm going to pass the baton to KK. She's going to use a word that starts with D that affects leadership. So KK, over to you.
Hi, what's in me? I don't understand. Why am I on the show today? God. I would say depth. As a leader, you need to have depth. If you don't have depth and you're shallow, it would very quickly show that you don't know what you're doing, and that you are really not that person who can provide leadership to a team. One thing I've noticed in leadership is you might not be the smartest cookie in the room, but you are the cookie in terms of because your job is to harness talent, your job is to harness resources. So you need to understand what everybody else is doing. So you must have that depth. You must also be able to put yourself aside and say, you know what, let my team shine. Because if you don't have the depth, you always want to be the one who's shining. You would want to take all the accolades, and then that becomes a problem. So personal depth and professional depth is very important. And if you don't have it, it could become a hindrance to good leadership.
Fantastic. Hey! Oh, shit. 44 Lodi for sure. So the next person will be the one that was shouting. So we start with family ties. So we're going to your cousin. Your cousin is the next person. Titi. Titi, you asked for it now. Yeah, I'm waiting for you.
Something that starts with D, I'll say divide and conquer. You know, some leaders like that.
Hey, you people are scattered this thing. All right,
I like that divide and conquer strategy, which I think is a very bad one, where they let the staff or the various colleagues be against each other, come and be reporting each other, just so that they keep what I'll call a sadistic string on everyone. So for me, that's one bad thing of leadership. Anytime I see it, in an organization, I'm always like, why this strategy? This strategy is just too destructive. But some leaders like it, you know, they like the fact that nobody's united, that nobody can come, because sometimes, you know how unity requires them to be, sometimes we want to come against, to come together and actually, I don't want to say come against and protest. You know, sometimes you need unity for you to come and ask me for an increase in salary or ask for better for better terms. So I feel that's why a lot of leaders implement that divide and conquer strategy.
Fantastic. So next person obviously is Safety Chick.
Okay, so what I would say will be riding on what Zadeusi just said, and that's disinformation and distrust. When people are in an environment and and there is you know, there's this rumor mill, information keeps on changing, and people are not hearing information from the leadership directly, they are prone to make their own judgment, especially because I see the information came to some people and it didn't come to others. So it breeds an atmosphere of distrust in the environment. So they don't even know who is who. And that now causes your team members to be segmented. And you really do not want that, especially when you are trying to harness everyone's potential in a particular direction. So as much as possible, you've got to watch disinformation. You've got to ensure that when you are putting out information, everybody here is hearing the same thing at about the same time, in the same way, and try to avoid things that will breed distrust, because if people do not trust the system, they are most likely not going to give their all as they should.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Dr. Prophet Jude, are you ready?
Yeah.
So, over to you.
For acronym, that's not my fault. But let me see.
Dude, don't spoil it. The women must not
Let
win.
me see.
Should I give you expo?
Okay, you want me to choose a word and make an acronym out of
it? Just starts with D. Any word that starts with D that you feel it affects a leader or the performance of a leader.
D, right? D for daddy, right?
Yes.
Okay. The leader should be for daddy. The leader should be the daddy, you know. The leader should be the daddy, the big daddy. Anyway, the leader should be very dedicated. That would be the level of dedication of a leader will decide how the followers respond to instructions or respond to the vision, right? So if a dedicated leader or a leader who is more dedicated than the followers, it rubs off on the followers for them to actually emulate that level of dedication. Because sometimes we tend to see leaders, especially those appointed as leaders, they are not as dedicated as their followers. They see that dedication as a form of that they have passed that stage of dedication, so they don't need to put any effort to dedication. So is the what they call it is the duty of the followers to be more dedicated in the job or in the position or in the vision. But the truth is that for natural leaders, they are more dedicated than their followers. And that rubs off on the followers to want to copy or emulate that behavior of dedication and actually try to even want to outdo their leaders in dedication. But it comes naturally. D for dedication.
I love that. Dedication, the depth of dedication, your dedication quotient matters a lot. Because sometimes what happens is this: a lot of people arrive at the situation or reality of leadership and they take it like a destination. So what happens is, what brought them to that reality? What brought them to that position? What brought them to that point? Right? So, and you begin to tell people that, look, what it cost you to get to leadership, and I'm sure KK will agree with me, what it cost you to be a school leader when you got to that position is the least that is costing you to stay in that position, you know. So you have to connect with people. You have to meet industry experts. You have to learn. You have to go for masterclass. You have to even do your own masterclass. You have to sell your services. These things sometimes it's not a place of destination. I have arrived, because those who begin to think that way, they get into this trap of satisfaction. And I normally tell people that satisfaction is a symptom of death, because once you are satisfied with who you are, when you are satisfied with what you are satisfied with what you have, your hunger begins to dwindle. In some cases, it begins to drop. In most cases, it begins to disappear. And so when you don't have hunger for more, there's no drive for more, there's no motivation for more. You just master routine, and every day will just be coming in and out. Before you know it, you might end up into a reality of what we call a has been. You know, when someone used to be. And a lot of times people begin to now talk about many years ago, good old days. I remember those things, because they failed to transition consistently. You understand? Which is what we need to talk about. How do we begin to ensure that we make the price, that's the overall goal, a motivation for you to pay the price? You know, like, faith-based people will say, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross and suffered the shame. Something like that. How do we get to do that? Let's start with KK.
I mean, the idiom that says eyes on the goal, eyes on the prize, actually, it's not even an idiom, it's a saying. They're very correct about it, because sometimes the process of leadership is difficult, it's tough. It requires you saying no to so many things that you necessarily do not want to say no to. It requires you putting in ridiculous hours. It requires you, I mean, it's like the tip of the iceberg type of situation, where in reality, the entire thing that you do as a leader is beneath the water. All people see is that tip of the iceberg, and they assume that that is all there is, but that is not all there is. So you must have your eye on that goal, because that is what sometimes keeps you going, knowing that, you know what, if I just do this, if I just put in one more hour, this would happen. If I would, because sometimes you're so demotivated, but you need to encourage yourself. You need to just keep pushing. And that's where self-leadership comes in as well. You must, if you can't lead yourself and you can't tell yourself, you know what, this is where my eyes are on this goal, this is my bull's eye, then sometimes you just ask yourself, what's the point? I mean, there are many times I've said to my staff, I'm just going to shut down this school. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm done. But then, no, seriously, I'm like, who wants to buy this school? I realize that there's so much more than just the school, and there's just so much more, and I need to keep reminding myself of that sometimes. So that's the price that a lot of us have to pay to get to that price. And I would like to say something. Look, the price sometimes changes. Don't be so fixated on that price, which is what you said, Rotimi, that starting out is the easy bit. Once you have started it keeps changing, and the more it keeps changing, the more you realize that you have to keep going. So yeah, for me, that's how I stay focused. But the price does help. It does help you pay the price. Thanks.
Titi, what are your takes on that?
I like the way that KK put it. Sometimes they don't understand that even you, the leader, wants to throw in the towel and just want to land on your bed. And sometimes I just do that. I just, today I just shut down, go lie down on my bed and watch a series to the next day. So I think, for true leadership, because some leadership, they don't feel the weight of leadership, so maybe they don't feel the weight on themselves, because leadership means that you need the team to succeed. You need the team to, apart from achieving the common goal, each and every one also needs to achieve their goal, and that can be a weight on you. So you want, yes, you have a school, you have this goal to get a lot of children into it, pay the fees, but when things are not going right, you have the weight of the salaries, you know, because you know each teacher in your school, you know their parents, they also have um you know, families that they need to feed. So there's that weight also on you to not let them down, to be able to help them to continue to meet their needs. So you need to sit down, you need to think, you need to strategize, you need to keep on checking what are people's strengths. Am I helping them? Because you, like I said, there's a weight on you to ensure that everyone succeeds beyond the common goal. So you have to keep looking and saying, am I helping people develop? So it's not enough that you know the school is meeting its goal. Is that, am I also helping people develop? Am I helping them within our common goal find their own goals? Am I also allowing them flourish and be? Am I helping them? Am I helping them succeed, to be successful in their own right? So there's that weight on you, apart from paying salaries and apart from, you know, getting as many children into your school. So there's that weight, and there's also the weight on the other side to say, are the customers at the other end happy? All the processes, all the things that we are doing, are we achieving the real goal? You know, because the goals are not meeting the numbers. The goals are that, you know, your end customers are happy, are their needs are expected, and all those things weigh on you daily, so that even when you want to go and sleep, you know, you those things keep coming to you of, are you helping everyone achieve their goals? And in the end, real leadership is where you put yourself last, to be honest, where you put your own needs last. So that also can also have its own weight on you. Your needs are your needs are last. You know, there's this popular saying that, you know, it's the leader that eats last. A true leader is not the person that eats first. You know, it's just the same way when your mother is cooking, and after she's finished cooking, most of the time it's only when you people are more grown that she ate first. You know, when she knew that you guys were all grown people. But when we are growing up, our mother will first of all feed the king, which is our father first, ensure we the other children have eaten before you then see her, you know, eat and rest. And so those are, you know, all the weight. And when one of you fails, you know, when one of you are in pain, it also affects, you know, a true leader. So just the same way, if a child is suffering, the mother feels the pain more. So those are some of the price and the weight on a leader. Okay, I think I've spoken too
Wow,
much.
that you know what you said. It's so profound. It reminds me. I remember the time when we newly moved to our office, and what many years ago when I had like sub teams in a general team. So a lot of them were whispering, and I just overheard them say some things in their office. So I called everybody together, and I was asking them questions and all that. And I said, okay, give me feedback. What don't you like? Blah blah blah. I said, sir, the job is good, but you don't motivate us as we want. I know we need more motivation. I didn't know when I had to ask them this question. I said, who motivates the MD? I had to tell them who motivates the CEO. That most of the time you see people pouring to you and you're saying that you want more, it's not enough. Where that thing is coming from, do you even know whether the well is empty? Or do you know whether the well is dry? But sometimes, you still have to show up, fainting yet pursuing. Safety chick, remember the storm we did in Kaduna? Are you
Yes.
the safety chick? So you guys were behind the scene. You knew what was happening, right? Um,
Yes.
I was literally down. But you see, when it's towards the time I have to speak, I come to the hall, pick up the mic, and no one will even know that
Mr. Rotimi,
this
we talk
guy.
like this, eh? You will not know that he was just shivering, He was, hey, Jesus. He was sick. But he showed up and he did so well that if they told you he wasn't feeling well, you wouldn't have known.
So sometimes it's the way we're raised to understand that sometimes you just have to show up, do the stuff, no excuses, no questions asked. And really, that's it. But the price really is that we made it happen. The price really is that it was possible. And as we bring this episode to a close, I know that some people out there, they might not necessarily be in a position of leadership, but their dreams to them is itself attaining leadership. Their path to them, they are selling products, they are having businesses, they want to have market leadership, they want to have thought leadership, they want to have great mind share. What would we say, to someone who is in that transition, who is on their way towards the prize? What would be your counsel as they face their different price? KK's price might be different from me. The price I'm paying might be different from the price Ugochi is paying. Same with Jude, same with it. So guys, let's use this to end the show. What are your counsels to those people on their journey as they go up there? What will be your counsel? So we'll start with Jude. I will go to Titi. I'll come back to Safety Chick. I'll end with KK. Jude, let's start with you.
My counsel to such people is, the truth is that we have always, I will not say anybody was born a leader, right? I know people will argue that some people were born leaders, but actually we were trained into leadership by situations or direct mentoring and all that. So for such people with leadership potentials, I will really ask them to keep on the path and maybe find a niche or a path they can really prove their potentials first, then they can spread on to other aspects. Because the truth is that you cannot be a leader in every part at once or in every area at once. You have to prove it in a small amount in certain specific relevant areas, and then you now start ascending to other areas or other aspects. So that is also a way of building your confidence in testing the waters, in actually making sure that you know what you are doing and what you are trying to achieve as a leader in future.
Fantastic. That's very thoughtful, because a lot of people have that concept of, because the dream looks big, the path also must be totally big, and they tend to begin to fall under the way. All right. Titi?
I think what I would say is that remember that leadership means that you have a common goal first. So it's important that you are very clear on your goal, and then you're looking for people who have similar goals. So leadership is not just to come out and say I'm a leader. Remember that there needs to be that common goal. There needs to be some rallying point. So common goals, common values. So I would say that as you think of leadership, think of saying what is that common goal? What are the common values, and who are these people that will work with me towards achievement of that common goal?
He just always has this way of bringing those management principles and nuggets into cookie forms.
Yeah, sorry, one thing first. We also see this in politics. I'm of the opinion, let me just drop this. I'm of the opinion that before you come out to say you want to be a president or a governor, why not be a local government chairman first, or at least test that aspect that proves your political prowess, rather than just, because sometimes we have people that comes from nowhere and they just want to be president, or they just want to be but they have not actually been tested in other areas. That's why in countries like China, before you ascend that to presidency, you would have passed through all their levels of leadership, from local government, gubernatorial, to other aspects, senate, and all that aspects. So that's just my little nuggets there.
Fantastic.
I don't think you have to start from local government. Personally, I don't think you have to start from local government.
Hierarchy. I'm just giving an example of hierarchy.
Yeah, but yeah, it's still boils down to that. I don't think that you have to have started from the lowest level. There are people that can come in from maybe the House of Reps or Senate, and then they are working their way up. They don't necessarily have to. And I really don't think it's bad if someone has gone through the hierarchy in their sector and then they want to transfer those skills to people. Why should they go and start from the lowest cadre in politics if they built something in their sector? Personally, I do not think it has to be that it should have started at the lower rung in maybe in a particular area for you to transfer that competence to another area. That's one. Then I'll just add in regards to the question that Mr. Rotimi asked.
If you have not led 1 million people, right? You cannot assume because you have been leading 1,000 people, you can transfer it immediately to 1 million. There has to still be a process
That's
for you
different.
to
The cadre is different.
10,000 to 100,000 and all that. So it's still going to, there's still going to be a challenge at the end. If you...
I can't with Ugoti in this regard. Sometimes you can project, actually. You don't necessarily, because sometimes that's what robs us of good leadership. We're asking who you don't have, you know, where's your track record in this area? But those people might not have been, they may not have had an opportunity to have that particular type of track record, but they embody the leadership skills that we need to see. No matter who you are, no matter where you are, there's a period of transition. There's a period where you learn on the job. If the person has those qualities we need to see, I truly believe that we should give them a chance. But
there's still going to be the tests. There's still going to be the tests along the way.
Fantastic. So, Safety Chick, let's have your final thoughts, and then we'll go to KK, the 44.
I'll say a very high degree of self-awareness is very important. If you know yourself, you're not yet in a big leadership position yet, but you are preparing yourself for it. You must have a high degree of self-awareness. Know yourself by yourself. You know what you can do and what you cannot do. You know the things that get on your nerves really easily. Now, when you have a high degree of self-awareness and you know the things that come with being a leader, you begin to work on yourself on time. So you know that you're not good in conflict resolution, but you realize that as a leader, all sorts of things will be brought to your table, and you should have at least minimum knowledge of how to manage it to ensure that your team is still able to focus on tasks and not on the problem. So you begin to prepare. You prepare yourself. If you know that you are short-tempered, this is the time to start preparing. Because the truth is, when you get into that leadership role, all sorts will happen. And if you're not able to rein in your temper, even if you are the best person for the job, your temper would find a way to rub off wrongly on the amazing work you're already doing. So have a really high degree of self-awareness and begin to prepare. Practice by learn by reading, watching other people. Look for small opportunities to practice what you are learning, so that eventually when you get into the role, you are not caught off guard. Basically, you have at least some basic knowledge, and then you're able to build up on it as you go.
Fantastic. A very high degree of self-awareness. Fantastic. So, KK?
Yeah, so for those people who are aspiring leaders or new leaders, I would say to you that you need to get your hands dirty, know exactly what the job entails, so that when you are in the place of leadership, or you then have more people to lead, you can then provide adequate leadership, because leadership is an action. If you don't know what your job entails, then you really cannot do your job well. Another thing that is extremely important in the place of leadership is communication. You must know how to communicate. If you are not a good communicator, you would have a problem transferring the vision, the goals, the roadmap to your team. And to be honest with you, if you take a look around you and there's nobody following you, you are taking a walk. Leadership involves action. It involves leading people. It involves you understanding that, you know what, it's not about me. It's about this vision that I have been put in the helm of leadership of the company to carry. Once you understand that, then your ego will not make the best of you. Thank you.
That's a 44 magma. You know when you say 44 magma?
If nobody's following you, they are taking a walk. That's so funny.
You're taking a stroll. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a fantastic time with you today on the Good Morning Education Show. And trust me, it's always an awesome time. And thank you to our analysts and experts, fantastic views, fantastic comments from Safety Chick, from TT, from KK, from Jude, and from our audience at Debayo. Thank you for joining and commenting. Thank you to so many fantastic people. Fee, thank you, Fee Folu, thank you, KG Beauty, thank you, Rita from Italy, thank you, Osai from Nigeria. Thank you so much, all of you. If I missed out any name, please permit me to just say thank you to everyone. Apologies if I missed out on any name. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for joining. Thank you for becoming our tribe. I know that on the show, we always learn together. We grow together as well. And so please keep on connecting, keep on joining. Tell other people about it. Subscribe to our channel, like and share the videos. Safety Chick is on social media. She's on Facebook. She's on Instagram. She's on YouTube. She's on LinkedIn. She's on Twitter. She's everywhere. Wherever you go, you'll find her there. KK Okain Fajai. KK is also everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and all the platforms. And of course, TT the Great, the only woman that says hello in a unique way that you can't copy. And she says it in a nice and angelic voice. She's everywhere. She's also known as the Ninja Chick. The way, no, I said Ninja Chick, Ninja Kids. The way Eben will say it, hello, Ninja Kids. It's like, if TT knock you. All right. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. We will be here tomorrow as we end the week. We're going to end the week on a big time and on a great note. So thank you. I think that this, okay, yeah, no, let me say that. Next week I'll share that announcement. I'm going to be having a retreat this December across 4 locations. I'm going to be in Lagos, 10th and 11th of December. I'm going to be in Abuja, 15th and 16th of December. I'm going to be in Port Harcourt, 18th and 19th of December. And I'm going to end it up in Calabar, 21st and 22nd of December. This is a retreat like never done before. I've never had a growth storming retreat with people before. I've had one-on-one growth storming, but now I'm bringing it into a cluster experience that you will never forget. If you want to be there or you know someone who ought to be there, get the information. Send a text, growth, your name, your email, your phone number to 08033856800. And I tell you, we'll reach out to you, we'll get you registered, and then we'll get you on your growth adventure to 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great time. We end the show with our words. It's always a great morning on the Good Morning
Show.
Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day,
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.